Democrats, who say the party needs someone new in the White House, are working hard at campaigning this weekend.
Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota, one of those challengers. He joined the race back in October and has made the housing crisis one of the top issues of his campaign. He's also now backing Medicare for all. And on Close Up this morning, he discussed how he would work to protect abortion rights.
I think government should stay the heck away from women's bodies. I am pro-choice and respectful of people who might see it differently, but let's pursue freedom, not restrain it.
Phillips will be out campaigning again tomorrow with events planned in Manchester and in Nashua.
Marianne Williamson is running for the Democratic presidential nomination now for a second time. The best-selling author says more needs to be done to restore the middle class in America by creating better-paying jobs. On Close Up this morning, she also said she would take steps to improve abortion access for women.
I believe that the government should have absolutely nothing to do with a woman's choices regarding her body, period. And I would use all powers of the executive branch to codify and to protect a woman from that kind of overreach on the part of the United States government.
Williamson has a meet and greet planned with voters in Hooksett tomorrow evening. So like we talked about here, it's a very strange situation where President Joe Biden's name will not be on the ballot on Tuesday, but at the same time, supporters are campaigning for people to write him in.
WMUR's Hannah Cotter's live in Manchester now with a closer look at how this process will work. Hannah.
Well, Steve, Jen, this primary is already looking a lot different than years past. The incumbent and frontrunner for the Democratic ticket not even appearing on the ballot. President Joe Biden opted not to file in New Hampshire after the Democratic National Committee decided South Carolina should vote first. New Hampshire law says our state will hold the first primary, so it's happening despite the DNC's efforts. Supporters and other Democratic leaders are encouraging voters to write President Biden's name in Tuesday's primary. Today, California Congressman Ro Khanna paid a visit to the Granite State on behalf of the write-in effort. He says President Biden has made a significant progress during his term, and he is needed to continue the lead in the country for the next 4 years.
There are people who I've talked to who say, look, they're frustrated at the DNC and the order, but that's not how you pick the leader of the free world. That's not how you pick the leader for the nation. They're looking at the whole picture, and President Biden is the best person to lead right now, given the complex situations in the Middle East, given Ukraine, given his economic vision.
And according to a new UNH poll, 63% of likely Democratic primary voters say they do plan to write President Biden's name in. We're live in Manchester. Hannah Cotter, WMUR News 9.
Hannah, thanks. So let's talk about this for a second. New Hampshire Secretary of State is currently telling poll workers to follow the law in considering a voter's intent when counting these write-in ballots. So it means that the Democratic ballots with President Biden's name written in will be counted as a vote for him. However, putting his name on the Republican ballot, for instance, would not count because, well, he doesn't belong to that party. Because the incumbent in the Democratic primary isn't on the ballot, election officials are expecting to do a lot more write-in votes than normal come Tuesday night. But the Secretary of State says he still expects to have full results on election night.
We have a team in place, and the process of establishing election and being ready to go for us 6 a.m. in the morning is that it doesn't just happen 48 hours before. We've been planning, having meetings for about 9 months.
So it also adds a wrinkle in terms of how we're able to tell you who has how many votes. Here is how we expect to report Democratic returns Tuesday night because of this write-in effort. So we're expecting initial results from cities and towns to only indicate a total number of all the write-in votes they got for any candidate based on the machine counts. At that point, we won't actually know who those write-in votes are for, so we're going to report all those as what we're describing as unprocessed write-ins at that point. Then election officials will go through the process of having to hand count all those write-in ballots to determine who the voter actually voted for. And then we will update our results once that information is released.
As the Republican field shrinks, the expectations for turnout are growing. Coming up next, why the Secretary of State is predicting record for GOP ballots cast on Tuesday.